Sometimes the news that breaks on air is actually about the news. Today, the longtime chief news anchor at Fox News, Shep Smith, made a surprise announcement. He's leaving after 23 years.
This is my last newscast here. Together with my colleagues, we've written a first draft of history and endeavored to deliver it to you while speaking truth to power without fear or favor, in context and with perspective. I am eternally grateful for the opportunity. Even in our currently polarized nation, it's my hope that the facts will win the day, that the truth will always matter, that journalism and journalists will thrive.
That surprise left some Fox News anchors stunned, including Neil Cavuto, who took the handoff from Smith and sat in stunned silence for several seconds, offering that he didn't know what to say. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts said that losing Smith, who had been with Fox since they launched, said this was like getting hit by a subway train. Smith often stood out for his fact-checking of Donald Trump.
It's absolutely crazy. He keeps repeating ridiculous throwaway lines that are not true at all and sort of avoiding this issue of Russia as if we're some kind of fools for asking the question. Our reporting begins this Monday with President Trump's latest misleading and xenophobic eruption of distraction and division. He decries fake news that isn't and disseminates fake news that is. Think China pays the tariffs. The wall is going up. Historic inauguration crowds. Russia probe is a witch hunt. You need an ID to buy cereal. Noise from windmills causes cancer. It's endless. And now the Sharpie map that hurricanes Alabama. The president and his allies have been suggesting that the whistleblower or their sources got something wrong. Today, the president did exactly what he's accused of doing, this time on live television.
Trump hasn't liked that, and he rushed to weigh in on the news late today, making it an accurate attack on Smith's ratings, which we're not going to repeat. But Shepard Smith is not the only one on the attack. Smith's own colleagues, like Tucker Carlson, had attacked him on air. The two were feuding, and that was the last straw, according to the Washington Post. This report says Smith had grown uncomfortable with the Trump-friendly tone of the network. The departure was attributed to an accumulation of that unease combined with those public insults. Now, the rift inside Fox News is about something larger than media. This overlaps with a rift across conservatism right now. Consider the 20% jump in support for impeachment probe among Republicans, a growing volume in the criticism of Trump on some national security issues, at the very time that Trump faces this potential existential threat to his presidency. As Gabe Sherman reports in Vanity Fair, Fox has often taken a nothing-to-see-here approach to Trump's scandals, but impeachment is a different animal. It's a management bedlam, a Fox staffer tells, and no one knows how to cover it. And Trump has pushed back fiercely, a strategy that may use a simple premise. To hold the Republican Senate, you don't just persuade Republican senators. You try to hold on to their constituents, a.k.a. Fox's audience. Trump's not the only one reaching out either. The New York Times reporting that William Barr, of all people, just met privately with Fox Corporation Chairman Murdoch at his home in New York just 2 days ago. And what do these moves mean? Is Fox doubling down on its Trump base as Smith makes this surprise departure? Is there more to the story? Well, that journalist I mentioned, Gabe Sherman, joins us after the break to discuss what it all means for Fox News and Donald Trump.
Recently, I asked the company to allow me to leave Fox News. After requesting that I stay, they obliged. Under our agreement, I won't be reporting elsewhere, at least in the near future, but I will be able to see more of Gio and Lucia and our friends and family. Then we'll see what comes along. This is my last newscast here. Thank you for watching today and over the decades as I traveled to many of your communities and anchored this program, Studio B and Fox Report, plus endless marathon hours of breaking news. It's been an honor and my pleasure.
Fox News anchor Shepard Smith with his surprise announcement today. He is leaving Fox News amidst these growing tensions over how to cover Donald Trump's impeachment. Smith was a rare piece of internal dissent for a channel that's long been criticized. As the musician Nas once put it in a song about Fox News, quote, "When does the ignorance stop? Watch what you're watching. Fox News feeding us toxins. Start thinking outside of the box." Joining us now is Gabe Sherman, Vanity Fair special correspondent, as well as an MSNBC contributor and the leading journalist on so many pieces of intrigue inside Fox News, jumping on via Skype on a Friday night. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
you look at this surprise announcement, what does it mean in the larger tensions within Fox, with Shep's on-air feud with Tucker Carlson, and the direction of this channel at such a critical time for Donald Trump's presidency?
Well, Ari, as you can see, I'm in my sweater. I was traveling for the long weekend, but my phone started blowing up from sources, and I jumped on it and made calls. And from what I've heard from multiple people inside the network, that this was a decision that was in motion several weeks ago. Shep Smith had grown increasingly uncomfortable with the blanket pro-Trump tenor of the network. The Tucker Carlson feud, of course, being the final straw, and he hired a high-profile attorney to negotiate an exit out of his contract. And Fox News management decided, rather than doing a messy public fight, to let him out of the deal. So this is clearly a very vivid example of the civil war that has been taking place inside Fox News about how they cover Trump. I mean, the Mueller report was one thing, but as I reported in Vanity Fair, impeachment is, the existential threat to a presidency.
Yeah, and they're covering it very different ways, Gabe. I want to give viewers a sense of this. You say it's weeks in the works, but it was clearly a surprise even to very close insiders. Take a look at this brief clip in the handoff. News viewers know how the handoffs work. Here was Neil Cavuto at the end of that Shep announcement.
Whoa. I'm Neil Cavuto, and like you, I'm a little stunned and a little heartbroken. I don't know what to say.
Gabe?
Yeah. That is, that's a genuine one of these live TV moments. I mean, Neil Cavuto, like Shep Smith, was at Fox since the beginning. Clearly, he was blindsided by Shep, who commands a lot of loyalty inside the network. This was something that was handled, in my understanding, at the very highest levels. Shep kept his cards very close. No one inside the network that I spoke to knew that this was coming. So when he announced it on air, it was actually a piece of news that he himself was breaking. So it was, capital J journalism out the door.
And finally, you mentioned impeachment. We see rising support, at least for an impeachment probe, among some Republicans. How is this different for Fox? And does Donald Trump rejoice with Shep out?
Well, as I've reported, Fox News really is the firewall. So, if Fox News's coverage changes, which we don't really see signs that it is, I mean, Shep's departure clearly is a victory for Donald Trump. But the degree to which, other journalists at Fox actually cover what is happening with the Ukraine scandal, that will erode Donald Trump's base. Donald Trump cannot afford to lose Fox News. As you mentioned at the top of the segment, he can maybe lose some Republican senators, but the key constituency that he has to hold is the Fox News audience. And so that is why we saw him jump on this news and celebrate Shep Smith's departure.
And that's why it's so much more than a media story, at least in Donald Trump's television presidency. It is the ultimate constituency story. As I mentioned, Gabe, you're one of several intrepid reporters and experts who's jumped in on a Friday night for us. Really appreciate it, sir.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.